What's going on, Washington Football Nation? It's your guy Rio, and I'm back with another episode on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel where we ramble about Washington. But today we're going to check in with our Beltway brethren, the Baltimore Ravens. I got my guy Jake Moszkowski here today. What's going on, boss?
Just enjoying the playoffs, man. It's tough not having the Ravens in the playoffs, but at the same time, not having to be stressed about every single game. And there were a lot of stressful games yesterday. Has been really nice.
It's fantastic though. Like I'm used to not having a rooting interest at this time of year because we never make the playoffs. But man, it's just fantastic quarterback play and just great football. And it just another reason why the NFL is the greatest reality TV show in the world, man. I love it. But speaking of quarterbacks, you guys got off to an 8-3 start, finished 8-9. Your quarterback got hurt. Y'all couldn't do anything when your quarterback got hurt. Tell me about what are your reactions and what's the narrative of the Ravens season?
So like you said, 8-3 start, 8-9 finish, tough. Lamar Jackson getting hurt, getting sick, fundamentally changed the season for us. I think Tyler Huntley is a great backup, and I think that he could be a great player. But for all these people who are saying, "Oh, he might be a better passer than Lamar, he might be a better player than Lamar,"
they need to cut that shit out.
Look at the end of the season. I mean, we went 1-6 with him. Our only win was over the Bears, a 16-15 last second kind of win. Like I said, I think Huntley's a great guy, but he's not Lamar Jackson. And I think the finish to the season showed how much Lamar really put the team on his back at the beginning. But I also think there was a little bit of, let's say, regression to the mean in terms of how we were playing. I mean, we won games that probably we had no business winning in the first half of the season.
Right.
We beat the Colts when we were down 26-9 with 10 minutes left in the game. We beat the Vikings down 2 scores. We beat the Chiefs because Odafe Owe forced a fumble towards the end of the game. A lot of close last second kind of victories. And then the narrative flipped without Lamar. All of a sudden we couldn't close those last games. We couldn't score as efficiently in the red zone. And I think that obviously had a big impact on how our season concluded.
So what are your biggest needs and what are you looking forward to in the off season? What do you guys need to address? Because I mean, y'all are a well-run class organization. DeCosta's going to get your guys right. And it's not like y'all have to really stress about anything. I mean, you got a quarterback who needs to get paid. What are you looking forward to in the off season?
Looking forward to hopefully some guys getting healthy and getting those guys back. Guys like Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters in the secondary, guys like Ronnie Stanley for the offense, solidified the offensive line. But what I'm most looking forward to is getting back to what the Ravens do well. Get those big boys in the trenches, get big offensive linemen, get big defensive linemen, and get those running backs back healthy. Ultimately, at its core, Ravens football that I enjoy watching is when the Ravens are able to pound the rock straight down the opponent's throat. Getting guys like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards back from injuries will help. Hopefully Stanley, like I said, will solidify the offensive line, but also maybe drafting a young right tackle, maybe a young center if Bradley Bozeman ends up leaving in free agency. And then on the defensive line, I look at what the Tennessee Titans just did to poor Joe Burrow, even though the Bengals won the game, and that should be the mold. Being able to rush 4 and drop guys back into coverage, especially now with Wink Martindale's surprise firing in Baltimore, I think will be the key to success for the Ravens next season.
Why did you guys fire him? What was the disconnect?
So for me, it sounded like it was a pretty mutual, amicable parting. Came down to philosophy at the end of the day. And my guess is it has something to do with Joe Burrow absolutely lighting up the Ravens. And Wink's refusal to move away from the schemes that he did that allowed Jamar Chase to go for 200 yards, allowed for Burrow to throw for, I think, almost 1,000 yards in the 2 games that he played against us this season. So I think hopefully the next defensive coordinator maybe switches things up a little bit, maybe focuses less on dialing up exotic blitzes and more about letting guys win one-on-one.
Definitely, man. But hey, Burrow and Chase are just special, man. What a tandem, man. These guys went to college together. They're boys from college, and in 2 years they went from picking first in the draft to the damn AFC Championship. So for everybody who likes to discount, you could build around the quarterback position. No, that's not the formula, man. What do you think of the Bengals, man?
Oh, my God. I mean, I want to hate them. I genuinely do. I'm a Ravens fan. It's kind of like the Steelers are kind of like in the like, nah, I want to hate them. But I love Joe Burrow. I love what he's done for the city. I mean, he's the hometown guy. I mean, he's the guy from Ohio. He's turned it around. And it's tough to hate on a guy like Jamar Chase, elite player. We all knew he was going to be an elite guy coming out of LSU. In retrospect, looks like he definitely made the right decision with the COVID opt-out year to sit out, protect his draft stock, and then go in and get to play with Joe Burrow. I mean, I watched and sat through years of AJ Green lighting us up with Andy Dalton at quarterback, and I'll say this: Joe Burrow is better than Andy Dalton. It's a while before Jamar Chase I can say is better than AJ Green, but they're in the same vicinity. I'll say that much.
The hell of a start, and it's crazy because I remember in preseason everyone was worried about Chase because he was dropping everything. It just shows you that those games don't mean shit. They don't mean anything.
Look, we went undefeated in the preseason, and we turned around and we had finished the season 8-9
for years.
Oh,
but yeah, man, the Bengals. What are the Steelers going to do? Let's talk about you guys' division. What do the Steelers do now? Are they going to just be blessed with like Rodgers or something? What are they going to do at quarterback? There's no way they're rolling into 2022 with Askins or Mason Rudolph starting at quarterback.
So, I mean, if I'm the Steelers, obviously you try to woo a guy like Rodgers, but you could also try to woo a guy like Russell Wilson. If Deshaun Watson ends up sorting out his legal issues, he could be a kind of guy that they look at. But I can't see Rodgers wanting to go play in a cold weather place. I would keep an eye on the Las Vegas Raiders if they let go of a guy like Derek Carr. I'd keep an eye on the Miami Dolphins. Honestly, you could look out for the 49ers. I know they just drafted Trey Lance, and I know they have Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're in the title game right now. But I feel like if you get a guy like Rodgers and you get a chance to add him to an offense that has Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, that might be the kind of move that you're willing to.
That's spicy. That is a spicy point.
But I think that probably what's best suited for the Steelers, if they don't get a veteran quarterback, be it any of the guys I just mentioned, or a guy like Derek Carr if he ends up leaving the Raiders in the offseason, is just looking at the draft, whether that's a Matt Corral type, whether that's a Malik Willis type, or I think in the Steelers' dream world, a guy like Kenny Pickett falls to them. Hometown guy, played for Pitt. Already will have the draw of the fans. Probably the most pro-ready quarterback. I don't know about the highest ceiling quarterback, but probably the most pro-ready.
Oh, definitely not the highest ceiling. That's Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be a match made in heaven. Pitt guy goes to Pittsburgh. Good things happen to the Steelers. The Steelers never have to change coaches. They never have to change quarterback. So I imagine they're just going to waltz right into an established answer at the position because they are the antithesis of my football team. Like, we never have stability here. They are a constant model of stability. But your quarterback, Lamar Jackson, he needs to get paid. And how confident are you about his future? Is he ever going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback? And are you still 10 toes down on the Lamar Jackson train?
I'm always going to be pro Lamar. So far, everything he's shown me, I believe that the Ravens can win a Super Bowl with him. Point blank. I think the Ravens can do it. I think it's surrounding him with the right pieces. I mean, look, the Ravens were 8-3. They were first in the AFC with him this year before he got hurt. And then all the waterfall, the snowball effect of all the injuries started to rack up. But, I mean, if you look at a fully healthy Ravens team, I mean, Mark Andrews, target number one, Hollywood, 1,000-yard receiver, Bateman started showing out at the end of the year. I think you finally have the weapons there. And, I mean, they were an 8-3 team rolling out guys like Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman at running back. Imagine when they add back guys like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins to take some more pressure off Lamar in the ground game. I think the Ravens can do it. It's, for me, what is this extension going to look like? If assuming that the Ravens get it done, are they going to prioritize giving him something maybe like a Kirk Cousins style deal, 3 years, a lot of guaranteed money, where they can reevaluate what Lamar looks like at age 27? Or are they going to give him a long-term deal a la a Mahomes or a Josh Allen with a lot more money involved, where I think some people might begin to evaluate, well, is his style going to work long term? I know that there are concerns that people have about running quarterbacks, but I still think that if you sign Lamar, let's say, to a 5-year deal, and people say, oh, well, he's going to tail off at 32, that's not a problem. We're going to get him to age 29, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Exactly. I love Lamar, man. I love his game. I think there's still areas where he lacks passing, but I mean, he's still young. He's still young, and he offers so much of a threat. Like, he keeps your defense on their toes the whole game, and he's a
So,
bona fide superstar immediately in this league. So there's no asinine reason. Like, there's no way he can like he's walking, right?
no, I can't imagine why. By the way, as a point to his age, he's younger than Joe Burrow is.
That's
And he's
crazy.
been in the league for 4 years
4 years.
now,
Yep.
3, 4 years now, compared to Burrow's 2. And Burrow, by the way, obviously had a season-ending injury his rookie year. So in terms of the injury concerns, I mean, maybe people are overplaying them, maybe they're not. All I know is if I'm the Ravens, I'm locking Lamar Jackson up and rolling with him for the foreseeable future.
You got to. Y'all don't want to know this life of not having a quarterback. I promise you, it's not where you want to be, man. We've been a purgatory of just of constantly rotating wheel of Jags my whole life at quarterback. And speaking of that, how do you think our quarterback position is going to play out this offseason? And how would you attack it?
I would attack it. First of all, I think Heineke did an admirable job, but he is not the long-term solution at quarterback.
Thank you. Thank you.
No offense, I don't think that you're going to get a guy like a Rodgers or a Russell Wilson to come play. However, if a guy like Derek Carr walks,
Yes.
does the Washington football team, or in 2 weeks, whatever team name they end up coming up with, fingers crossed for Commanders, did the Washington football team pursue a guy like Derek Carr who they see could be a stopgap option while they let a rookie who they draft this year develop for a year or two? So if I'm the Washington football team, I hope that a guy like Derek Carr becomes available, who's a stable option. You give him weapons. You give him a Terry McLaurin. You give him a Logan Thomas, assuming he comes back healthy. You give him a McKissick or a Jarrett Patterson or a Gibson in the passing game. All young, talented players. And then maybe, like you said, you draft a guy like a Malik Willis or a Matt Corral and let him develop for a year. Let him season, let him practice, let him get ready to go. And then if they're ready to take the reins, then they take the reins. And if not, you have a guy like Derek Carr, who in my opinion is one of the more underrated, reliable quarterbacks in his career.
100%. People sleep on Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a baller, man, and he brings that leadership, man. I would love to have Derek Carr. Like, I think we should do everything in our power to try to acquire Rodgers, Watson, Carr, or Wilson. We're ultimately going to strike out on those, but I think we should at least present some Godfather offers, some offers you cannot refuse to try to get one of them in there, because Ron is in year 3 of a rebuild, and Dan Snyder needs to see results. And I'm not sure if they have the patience to wait on a day one starter rookie right now. And what I fear is that we're going to go get someone like Jimmy Garoppolo or Mitch Trubisky. And if that's the case, I definitely want the rookie we draft to beat them out. I don't want that. I'm tired of settling. I want to know what an established bona fide quarterback is like. But yeah, our quarterback position, that's the main topic of that, and the fact that we're gonna have a new name as of next week, as of next Tuesday, next Wednesday. So I mean, that's about it for that. Like, as far as Washington stuff, conference championship week is coming up. Those games yesterday, like, how would you describe what we witnessed yesterday?
Oh my God. Well, I would say there's two ways I would describe them. First of all, just absolute exhilarating top to bottom football. I mean, amazing. Oh my goodness. At one point I had turned off the Rams game. I'm like, they're up 27-3. The Rams look like they're rolling. I don't think the Bucs defense has it in them. I know Brady's been getting harassed all day long. I don't know if they have it in them. I got a text. I'm like, you got to turn that game on now.
Facts.
Bucs are driving. They're about to tie. I'm like, they're about to tie? What is happening? And then I thought, no way. There's no way anything's topping this game of the year. And then Mahomes and Allen went to work in the craziest 2-minute conclusion I have seen to a game in a long time. I am a Lamar fan through and through, but man, you'd be hard pressed last night if you told me that I couldn't have one of those two guys. Oh my God. Elite, first of all, elite runners, both of them capable runners on the ground, absolute flamethrowers, capable of throwing that John Elway style frozen rope 60 yards if need be.
Insane.
I mean, an exciting game. Obviously, people are going to talk about the overtime rule conclusion. And I think there's pitfalls and there's pros to changing the rules. On the flip side, I would say I don't really want to see a 9 overtime game that could potentially drain an entire team all of its energy for a game next week. And as a Ravens guy, I'm like, defense got a hold. Defense wins championships. You got to be capable of getting those stops when need be. But, man, just exciting football. But as a Ravens fan, Chiefs and Bengals, you tell me I have to root for one of those teams? Oh, God. Just hurts. It's like watching the Steelers and the Patriots play back in the day.
Oh, man. Hell yeah. Guys that you guys always duke it out with in the playoffs. And, man, it was just a master class. It was like just alien quarterback play in both games yesterday. As soon as Brady's counted out, I was talking all this Buck shit, and all of a sudden, like, first of all, I love Brady. That's my favorite quarterback of all time. I counted him out, and it hurts my soul to see Matt Stafford doing this because we were this close to acquiring him in the offseason. We pretty much had a verbal agreement with, because Martin Mayhew, our general manager, is the one who drafted Stafford. We had a deal. We had the parameters of a deal in place, and then the Rams came in and said, we're going to throw in an extra first and Jared Goff. We're going to close this deal now because that's what they do. They don't care about draft capital. They care about going all in right now, and they're about to take their ass to the Super Bowl because I'm predicting a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl. How do you see the two championship games playing out?
I mean, I do think that the Rams are going to win. I think at the end of the day, the better quarterback usually wins. Usually. And I think that the difference between Stafford and Garoppolo is immense. I think that Stafford's got elite weapons. Now, the 49ers, great defense, well-coached defense, tons of talented players. I don't necessarily know that their secondary is a strength, and I think that your secondary needs to be absolutely elite if you want even the slightest chance of stopping a guy like Cooper Kupp. I think Odell Beckham
He's going
Jr.
crazy this year.
I think Odell Beckham Jr. is showing out. I think the Browns feel like the Browns by letting go of a guy of that kind of caliber. I think the Rams are probably winning that game. On the other side, I mean, you would like to pick the Chiefs. They got Mahomes. They just looked like they're capable of anything, scoring, getting in field goal range with 13 seconds left, winning in overtime. At the same time, they did just play the Bengals, like a month ago, and the Bengals beat them. Yep. So I do think could Joe Burrow and could Jamar Chase put on a game for the ages and actually take Cincinnati to the Super Bowl? It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not. Every time I've doubted the Bengals this season, they've come out and they've had an electric offense. I mean, wide receivers galore. It makes me sad that a guy like Robert Woods isn't healthy for the Rams because you're probably talking about the two best wide receiver cores in football going head-to-head in a game that could be explosive. I would like to see Rams-Chiefs, though. I think Rams-Chiefs has the possibility of being a Super Bowl where teams score over 60, maybe even 70 points. And those kind of explosive, fun-to-watch Super Bowls are fun for lots of reasons. They're also fun for betting. And I'm looking forward to watching some good games.
I know you remember that Chiefs and Rams Thursday nighter Goff versus Mahomes, where they stepped it up and got a real quarterback in there now. And I'm just happy for Matt Stafford, man. He's been in that poverty city of Detroit for over a decade. He's in LA now in great weather. I'm happy for Odell because everyone thought he was washed, but the truth is Baker sucks. What are the Browns going to do with Baker? I see people in our fan base clamoring to trade for Baker. I'm cool on Baker. Like, he's an upgrade from Heineke, but I'm cool on that.
I think Baker gets a little bit of the short stick. I think any so far he is the best quarterback that Cleveland has had in the 2000s. I think
for sure.
Full stop. And so I think Browns fans have to maybe dial it back a little. I mean, has he been the savior that they pictured? He hasn't been Joe Burrow, but at the same time, they haven't gotten him a wide receiver like Jamar Chase either. And lest we forget, Joe Burrow was great as a rookie, but he wasn't how he was now without Jamar Chase. So I think Baker was injured. I saw the photos of him with his arm in the cast after the season concluded. Clearly, he had surgery of some kind. I think it's an interesting dilemma for the Browns because the truth is, you get rid of Baker, you're committing to blowing this roster up. Yep. You're committing to getting a young rookie quarterback and trying to build it up again, or you're committing to hoping that a veteran free agent wants to come play in Cleveland, which I wouldn't bank on. So I think it's an interesting dilemma for the Browns organization, a crossroads. Do you give Baker a big extension? Do you give him a 1-year prove-it kind of deal? I think what the Browns do will be an interesting topic this offseason.
Which is crazy because they took him with the first pick of the draft, man. The draft is crazy, man. The draft it's a crapshoot. Like, no matter what you think of these guys, there are so many different things that can decide whether a guy's successful or not. Scheme fit, coaching, everything. Like, they clearly didn't know how to get Odell the ball. He goes to LA and he's having like a career rejuvenation right now.
Yep. And I think to your point about the draft, that Baker draft is the best example ever. Browns, they took Baker Mayfield first overall. Jets took Sam Darnold. That's my guy out of USC. I thought he would succeed in New York. So much for that. Looked a lot like Mark Sanchez. Then you have Josh Allen goes, 7th overall?
Yep,
that's a great pick. In retrospect, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson picked at 32 probably goes first. At the same time, the Arizona Cardinals took Josh Rosen, 10th overall. Oh my God! I mean,
I was a Rosen guy too. I was a big Rosen.
I mean, I got to see him up close and personal at UCLA. He reminded me a lot of former Penn State quarterback Christian Hackenberg, who the Jets took in the second round and promptly did literally nothing in the NFL. I mean, if you're the Cardinals, you kind of got to be kicking yourself. You could have taken Lamar Jackson at 10, and then the year later, instead of taking Kyler, you could have taken Nick Bosa. So. Lots of missed opportunities, but you're right. The draft is a crapshoot. Every year, talented players get taken, talented players fall, and players that we think aren't going to make anything of themselves turn out to be elite guys, and players that we think are going to be absolute bona fide stars, they turn into busts. So it's a toss-up. People can analyze it. People can do as much research as they want, but the NFL is very inherently a different game than college football, and I think we see that year after year.
Hell yeah, but that's the fun of the NFL also is the mystery. Everything's a spectacle. The draft is a spectacle. The damn schedule release is a spectacle. Everything is showtime when it comes to this league, and this past weekend's games is just another reason why the NFL is king, and everybody who likes to say, the ratings are going down, people aren't as interested. It's lies. That is fool's gold. It's lies. The NFL is always going to be king. What are some other things you're looking forward to this offseason? Or who do you got your eyes on for the Ravens? Y'all got a first-round pick in 2022, right?
Yep, we have a first-round pick. We have 14th overall. I mean, like I said, I would love to repair the trenches. I know there are going to be some flashy picks, some flashy guys available. It's the first time the Ravens have drafted this high since we took Ronnie Stanley as part of that ridiculous first round, where I think it was Ezekiel Elliott, Jalen Ramsey, Stanley, lots of talented guys right there. For me, repair the guys in the trenches. Guys like Evan Neal out of Alabama, guys like Ikem Ekwonu out of, I think it's Texas A&M or NC State. Yeah. Charles Cross out of Mississippi State are offensive tackles that I've got my eyes on. And then on the defensive side, guys like David Ojabo out of Michigan, George Karlaftis out of Purdue. And then if he falls to us, a guy like DeMarvin Leal, technically listed as a tackle, for me, kind of reminds me of Jeffrey Simmons type of movable player along your defensive line, a guy who can really get to the passer, which the Ravens have now lacked for a pretty substantial time. We've had Brandon Williams, great run stopper, not a pass rusher. Michael Pierce, great run stopper, not a pass rusher. Calais Williams, hasn't really been the pass rusher that we expected him to be at the defensive tackle, mid-defensive line position. So getting a guy who can rush the passer from the middle, I think will do a lot to free up our edge rushers in the future.
Is Coach Harbaugh's brother going to come back to the league? What's he about to do, man?
if he comes to the league, my guess would be Miami. Stephen Ross is there. He's obviously a big Michigan guy. I could see Harbaugh going for that job and hoping that Aaron Rodgers goes to Miami with him. But I think he's got a really good gig in Michigan. I mean, beating Ohio State has earned him goodwill there for at least the next half decade.
Yeah, pretty much a statue is going to get built now.
and he's producing top-level NFL talent. I mean, beyond this year where you have guys like Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo who are going in the first round, Rashawn Gary looked like an absolute star for the Packers. I mean, he's got guys that he's put in the NFL, and Michigan's producing it. If Michigan gets a legit quarterback, they are right back in contention. And J.J. McCarthy might be that guy for them this year. Now, I know it has to hurt Michigan that their guy, Tom Brady, lost to a Georgia quarterback and Matt Stafford, which is the second time that Georgia beat them this year, and that's got to hurt. But I think Jim Harbaugh, if I was Jim Harbaugh, I would stay in Michigan where he's basically going to be revered as a god for beating Ohio State.
Pretty much. Where do you think Deshaun Watson ultimately lands this offseason?
Oh man, first of all, I think he's got to sort out those legal issues. If I'll call them rumors right now, because for all I know, that's what they are. Until those rumors are sorted out, if those rumors are true, his career is over. Full stop.
Yep.
If that case goes against him, his career is done. He's not coming back from that. If the rumors aren't true, and all of a sudden he wants out of Houston, I think
he's not going back. He's not going back to Houston.
No, exactly. He's not going back to Houston one way or another. But assuming he gets out, there are lots of places I could see him. I mean, I think the Packers would probably make a pass. I think the Steelers would make a pass. I don't see him going to the Dolphins now that Brian Flores isn't there. Apparently, that was one of the main reasons he wanted to go there in the first place. If I'm the Washington football team and Watson is available and doesn't have any of those so-called rumor character concerns following him, I am throwing the house at a guy like that. I'm talking multiple first-round picks, any player not named Chase Young, Montez Sweat, or Terry McLaurin is on the table for trade.
Absolutely. Take Deron Payne, take somebody else, take all the picks you want. And this is not the right thing or the way to think about it, but with or without the allegations, this is a place that would work for him. Look at our owner. Look at our owner. This is the perfect play. Snyder might make all that shit go away the day he comes here.
I will say, I mean, that's why I mentioned a team like the Steelers. Lest we forget, 2 allegations against Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to finish his career as likely a Hall of Fame player where those allegations have sort of vanished into the rearview mirror. Yep. So, I mean, it's something definitely one of the top quarterback stories to monitor this offseason is what ends up happening with a guy like Deshaun Watson, who I would say arguably when he's there, when he's healthy, top 7, top 5 quarterback in the league?
Hell yeah.
He's right up there with the best guys, throwing ability, high completion percentage, touchdowns. And, I mean, this is also a guy who can run the ball. I mean, he's similar
to great. People forget how great he is. This man could have his
and people forget like that because he didn't play this year. But, I mean, he's an elite talent at the quarterback position. He's a really good player.
And he's 26, and we've never seen a player of this caliber at this age moved in the history of the league. And I'm sitting watching Allen versus Mahomes in this alien off yesterday, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, if we landed Watson, like this could be us.
I mean, people forget, it's 2-3 years ago when I think it was 3 years ago now, Texans played the Chiefs in the playoffs, and at one point they were 24-0 with Deshaun Watson, the quarterback. I mean, Watson is capable of lighting up defenses with the best quarterbacks in the league. And like I said, Washington, you give him a solid running back, something he never really had in Houston. You give him a really talented defense. He was on the tail end of those talented defensive teams led by J.J. Watt. You give him a number 1 guy like McLaurin. You give him a reliable tight end like Thomas. And by the way, if Ron Rivera's there, he's such a better coach than Bill O'Brien. I mean, come on.
Oh my God, significantly. And we have a top, like this year, we have one of the top 10 to 12 offensive line, so we can protect him. He has weapons. We have $60 million to spend in the offseason. And Ron Rivera made a very glaring statement in his exit presser when he said, when asked about Watson or a situation like that, he said, we have the coaching staff in the locker room to wrap their arms around a player going through something. So that stood out to me, that in this Michael Silver article that he wrote the other day saying that everything is on the table for the team. I'm tired of settling for Jags and mediocrity. Leave Mitch Trubisky and Jimmy G for someone else. Go get me Russell Wilson, Watson, Rodgers, Carr, something of the sort, or get me the most athletic, traits tooled up guy in the draft, Malik Willis. Don't settle for anything less. Oh, yeah, Wilson. What do you think Wilson's going to have? Do you think he's going to actually move?
I personally think he's going to stay, and I would say if I'm the Seahawks, you just beef up that offensive line. You protect a guy like Wilson more because as much as I think that he could succeed in other places, be it New York, be it the Saints, although the Saints are going through stuff right now too with the Sean Payton rumors that he might not be back next season. Mm-hmm. If I'm Wilson, are you really going to leave behind a guy like Tyler Lockett? Are you really going to leave behind a guy like DK Metcalf? Lockett, one of the most underrated receivers in football, DK Metcalf, obviously an athletic marvel at wide receiver that we probably haven't seen since a guy in terms of pure athletic gifts since like early year Julio Jones. If I'm Wilson, I mean, you probably stick it out there, you give it another shot, you run it back and see if players can get healthy and see if you can draft better and protect him in free agency. Because I don't know, is what's out there better? Is going to a Saints team with Dennis Allen at coach great? Probably not. In a really tough division. Is going to play for, I don't know, is going to play for the Giants in the spotlight in New York, where if you have one bad season, the fans are coming for your throat, a great decision. I don't know. I think playing for Washington would be a really interesting position, given offensive line, given existing weapons in the pass game and in the run game for Wilson. But is Wilson going to go from Seattle to Washington? I don't know.
He's from Richmond.
Of all the quarterbacks that could be on the market, with the exception of Watson, he's arguably the one that I would say I have no idea what he's going to do. But if I had to guess, I would guess that he stays in Seattle.
Man, you're from Richmond, Russ. Somebody needs to come here, man. Like, don't tell me that we're not at least a little bit of an attractive destination. Our whole team caught COVID. Our best players on defense were out for most of the season, and we started Taylor Heineke, who has the arm of a little league quarterback, for the whole season, and we still managed to get 7 wins. Like, I hear Rodgers say things like, I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. Guess what? You step in here, it immediately does not, like, it's no longer a rebuild. Like, you step here, we have the tools for you to contend immediately. But I'm gonna let you go. But before you go, you were telling me at Simple Bet, y'all got something new going with the live betting and stuff. Did you want to promote that or anything at all?
So I'll talk about, give you the brief. So we have Playbook right now, which is our free to play app. You can download it, www.playbook.game. Free to play, you can win real prizes. Or if you're interested more in the real money betting opportunities, we are partnered with DraftKings. If you go on DraftKings and you check out their flash bet options, those are powered by Simple Bet. The ability to bet live in game, stuff like, I think that, let's pick this upcoming Rams-Niners game. You could be watching the game, you could say, I think that on this third drive, I think the drive result is going to be a touchdown, or I think the next play is going to be a run or a pass. Stuff that if you're a casual fan, especially if you don't have a rooting interest, really amplifies the game experience for the casual fan or for the fan of the team. It just makes the whole thing so much more fun. Imagine you're sweating the end of the game. You're like, oh my God, I'm nervous. The Chiefs have the ball 13 seconds left. Are they going to tie it? And to double down, you're like, well, I'm going to bet that they're going to kick a field goal on this drive. And all of a sudden, you've got the betting sweat. You've got the actual sweat. For me, it just makes the fan experience so much more fun.
Oh, for sure, especially because like everyone scratching that itch to play some type of bet during these games, especially during big games. So that would be something that really a lot of people will be very interested in to play during championship weekend and during the Super Bowl. But that's going to do for today's episode of Rambling with Rio. I appreciate you for coming on with me, Jake. Next time I get you on, we're going to do that all-time Washington Ravens team, because that's something we got to do, man.
Yes, sir. Give me Sean Taylor and Ed Reed at safety. Let's go.
Oh, my God.
Bring back God. Miami, boys.
I don't know what you do offensively with those two at safety, but we'll definitely get into that next time. Until then, hail to the nameless, soon-to-be-named football team. Commanders out. Deuces. Appreciate you, man.